What I have seen in my hypnotherapy practice is that processing our personal pain really just brings you more you. You come closer into your natural essence. And when that shines through, it unlocks gifts and really interesting experiences. So, this is going to be about how dissolving layers of pain and beliefs unlock spiritual gifts, expanded awareness, new sensitivities, and yes, even new challenges. Dun dun dun. So let's get into it. In my practice, if you're new here, I'm a spiritual hypnotherapist and I do deep dive sessions with people into the subconscious mind. So I became passionate about this topic in particular just because I was always a very spiritual person. My parents raised me and my brothers to meditate as kids. My parents had a strong spiritual practices. My dad was in transcendental meditation for many years, going to retreats, and he was deep on that path. So it was kind of just in the nature of my world already. I happened to be that kid that really hooked into it and became super passionate about mysticism and the unknowns of the universe. So I assumed that when I started doing hypnotherapy, I would be taking lots of people on super spiritual journeys or helping people with their spiritual questions because I was already interested in a lot of those topics. And it just turns out that spirit led me down the path of studying a lot more about trauma healing. And I think that's because that is what our world needs the most right now. Again, you can go for the shiny, interesting objects. I want to learn telekinesis, astral travel, have shared dreams, leave my body, or have transcendent experiences. And those are all beautiful, wonderful things. But I think realistically, to move towards that path, there's going to be blockages in the way. And my journey has been more about exploring those, which tend to be trauma-based modalities, systems, knowledge. I saw spiritually a shift in people. They started to notice more synchronicities. They started to see the world in a different way. They were open to greater depths of truth about themselves and the nature of the universe. They became more empathetic towards the world, more compassionate people overall. And I saw intuition skyrocket, connection to themselves. They weren't trying to unlock any particular gift or ability. That was the natural byproduct of the shadow work, pain processing, emotional regulation work that we were doing. Through all these years, I saw it time and time again. As people process pain, they become more of their natural state. Their natural state is their spiritual state. Your spiritual state has gifts and abilities already embedded within it. Those come online naturally. I couldn't take that as coincidence anymore. That was the evidence that I needed to really link these two things that I intuitively already knew were linked, but I didn't have the personal evidence until I really started to take clients and see it. This is a slide I show in a lot of my courses, and this is a photo of what your energetic field looks like. This is your natural state. You are filled with light. You have layers of energy bodies all around you. You have your chakral system running up and down your spine, and your energy body extends way beyond your physical body, and it exists in this kind of donut toroidal field. And if you were in your core natural state, it would look something equivalent to this. I like to have a very physical representation of this because you can kind of tell intuitively that when you're not feeling good, when you're feeling way down and heavy, you notice your magnetism and your overall mood and lightness shift. And that is reflected in these energy bodies that live all around you. I wanted you to kind of have a zoom out image of where we're headed. Why are we doing all this to begin with? Why do all of this pain processing? Why work towards awakening? Why come back to our natural state? And I think sometimes without a marker of why we're doing all this to begin with, it can leave us feeling a little bit lost or not have a particular trajectory. You're coming back to your original natural state. And I think it looks really beautiful. I'm sure you have all had an experience when you have one of those days where you feel magnetic, where you're in your body, in your element, your eyes feel lighter. Things are happening, you're magnetizing more goodness into your life. That is when your field tends to be lighter and more in this essence. So let's keep going. Slide 4. For those of you that love diagrams, that love charts, that love information, I will recommend to you the author and speaker Cindy Dale. She is great at breaking down complex systems and ideas into very digestible pieces of information. And she has many, many books. And I highly recommend, if you want to dive into a lot of the nitty gritty or need more visuals, look up some of her work. The next thing I want to show you is this map from David Hawkins. He's a researcher. I think he calls it the emotional frequency chart. He measured the electromagnetic waves that we produce when we are having a particular emotion. So our thoughts and our emotions produce electromagnetic waves and an electromagnetic field that we exist in all of the time. So your thoughts and your emotions are constantly broadcasting information. What does that information do? Well, let's take a look at this map. As you can see, the lowest ranking emotional frequency that he found was shame, which vibrates at 20, I want to say hertz, maybe megahertz. It's not on this graph. And the lower in the chart you go, the more contracted, heavy, dense, slow that electromagnetic wave moves. And the higher your elevated state of being, the higher your mood, your emotions, your consciousness, the faster that wave moves. This is important because this is the light that's all around you. When you're feeling lighter from doing shadow work, you are taking these long, slow, heavier is not the right word, but heavier feeling wavelengths of grief, apathy, guilt, shame, embarrassment, etc. And through whatever process you're using, I'll use hypnotherapy because that's the one that I use. In a hypnotherapy session, you could take a memory or a belief that you're storing in your subconscious mind that resonates at the frequency of guilt or shame, which is producing this 20 to 30 hertz resonance in your field. And we could transform that. So maybe now you have a new relationship with that belief or memory that now lives at, let's say you just get to acceptance. Maybe it doesn't go all the way to love or peace or joy just yet, but maybe you get from fear to acceptance. Just fear to acceptance is 100 to 350 on his chart. That is a huge leap. If you have a really painful memory or a really painful part of yourself that was created from a memory that you are dragging through your life everywhere you go, it lives in your field and it lives in your body and it lives in your subconscious mind. It's all around you. It's in your auric field. And it has an impact on your life, on your thoughts, and the reality that begins to show up because these frequencies go out in all directions and they are magnetic. They have a way of pulling particular experiences, people, things into your life. The other thing I want to mention about this graph is that it's okay to experience and feel all of these. What we are attempting to do from this graph, don't live there. Or if you have a part of you that lives in fear, maybe not all of you, but let's say you have a part of you that's terrified to be seen, to be visible. That's not the entirety of you, but there is a portion of you based on experiences and memories that said, oh, all of this that happened to me, it's not safe to be seen. And so they move into fear, apathy, guilt, shame. And they're kind of like become this rock, this brick that you trudge through everywhere you go. And so this isn't to shame or put down any of our emotions because they all are beautiful. I tell people your emotions are all friends with a very particular message. Grief has a message. Guilt has a message. Everything has a message. It's just a part of you that tugs on your shirt that says, hey, I'm over here. I'd like you to see, honor, and acknowledge me. When that goes unseen, honored, and acknowledged, it starts to harden and atrophy. And that's when it becomes a real burden to your energetic field. So this isn't to put down any of these emotions that might be lower. Those deserve to be honored and treated with love and respect. It's when they go unacknowledged that it becomes a larger issue for your mind, body, and spirit. So please pardon my absolutely atrocious graph here. My painting skills on Canva are not elite, but I wanted to give an example. Let's say you had a memory or part in your childhood that had a lot of grief and heartache. You might create a shield of emotions and protection around your heart. Let's say there's a lot of sadness and grief about something that happened to you when you were a kid that you have not had a chance to process. Time does not heal all things. Time just gives these things more time to stew and brew like this lake that collects mold and mildew. Unprocessed memories carry emotions. That emotion has an actual measurable frequency to it. And when it lives in your field long enough, it kind of creates shapes, symbols. They kind of conglomerate together. So when I'm in sessions, people describe it a lot. I feel like I have this weight around my heart, this shield of protection around my inner self. I have these pain in my shoulders. I have this cloud around my head. These are not just ways of describing our experience. These are clues from your subconscious mind about what is actually living in your energetic field. This is not a symbolic wording. This is very real, and this is the experience we are having in our energetic bodies. There is a weight on your heart. There are bars around your heart. There are a burden of responsibility on your shoulders, on your back. These are very important phrases to pay attention to and listen to. And I am overlaying it on this graph so that you can start to put together the emotions, the words, and you can see how it's very quickly starts to dampen and muddy up our energetic field as we move through life. So let's start from the beginning just a little bit. We are not really born as these pure, divine, clean slate beings like a lot of people say. I've heard this a lot. You're born this radiant, pure, natural, angelic essence. And then as you move through life, shit happens. I would not say that is true because you have past life energy. You have a particular soul blueprint for this lifetime that you created for yourself with goals, dreams, desires. You have ancestral karma woven into your DNA that you immediately inherit. Anything unfinished, undone, unprocessed in your lineage comes onto the next generation. It keeps going until someone is brave enough, strong enough, courageous enough to start the process of personal healing. It's going to fall on someone's plate. So that is immediately embedded within you from growing in the womb. You are plugged into the collective consciousness as soon as you incarnate into this reality. And also, you are collecting whatever you absorb in the womb. I have had many clients in their sessions go back to memories where they were still growing in their mother's womb and they could feel already beliefs, emotions, protective mechanisms forming. They could hear, they could sense mom is not safe, dad is not safe, the environment is not safe. And already before they are even born, they start to contract and take on responsibilities or burdens. I've had a client say, my people pleasing started before I even entered this world because I learned that I was coming here to protect and take care of my mom because she was not able to protect and take care of herself. So you do not really enter a clean slate because you are already absorbing all of these things like a sponge before you're even born. Beyond that, you choose your lineage. When you're a soul, you choose your lineage, your environment, and the factors that will be most conducive to the goals of our soul blueprint. As we reincarnate, as we move through lifetimes, we learn, we get better, we make mistakes, we stumble, we fall, and we go, put me back in, coach. I want another chance at forgiveness. I want another chance at finding compassion for my mom. I want another chance at what real autonomy can look like for myself, because I dropped the ball, I made mistakes, I married that fool I shouldn't have, I got locked into this horrible marriage where I got weighed down, I didn't do any of the things I wanted to in that lifetime. I put it on my blueprint to do something radiant, expansive. I wanted to be an artist, but I got married young, had 10 kids, moved to the farm village, and I never fulfilled any of my dreams. So whatever it is that you want to accomplish and work on, when you go back into the soul realm, you go, where's the best place that I can do some of these things? And that is how you choose the environment, lineages, the tools and resources that you think as a soul would be the best path to learning some of these things. And sometimes, yes, we choose hardship, we choose scarcity, we choose difficulty, because there is something our soul wants to experience and learn from that path. And either way, we have to experience everything. We're not always going to be kings and queens. You're not always going to be Cleopatra or living in a penthouse. Your soul wants the full appetizer sampler. You're going to experience every race, every gender, every type of body, rich, poor, big, small, light, dark. You're going to experience all of it because your soul craves experiences. So you're going to come down and do it all anyway. On a soul level, your soul is the aspect of you that is closest to God. While you are in the pure soul state, out of a body, you are connected to all wisdom, all information. Everything you want to know can be answered. You ask a question, it's answered. You need support, it's there. You want to go somewhere, you instantly snap your fingers and you go there. You're outside of time, space, and physicality. Manifestation is instant. Wisdom is instant. As an individual soul, you are still growing, learning, and evolving. As you move through lifetimes and gain more experiences, you develop certain skills, traits, personalities, and gifts as an individual soul. You want to come to physical form to experience things that you know conceptually. For example, you might as a soul know what it's like to think of something and it appears, to want to go somewhere and you go there. You think of someone and you instantly teleport and you're next to that soul and you can have a conversation. You might know what it's like to think of a concept and download all of the information and material about it. It's a little bit different while you are in a body. And so the soul goes, I want to have all of this, but I want to have it in the most tangible, dense, real, physical form. That's when I really get to know something that I interpret mentally, if that makes sense. As a soul, it's more of an idea, a concept, than it is such a dense physical experience. And so as a soul, you go, put me down in there, give me a planet, give me a body so that I can really viscerally know what these things are like. So that is one of the reasons that we come here. Incarnating into a physical body provides the opportunity to live this out. Your expression of your soul is really just, what color of God's rainbow do you want to be? There is all flavors, all personalities, all types. They're all different perspectives of God. Choosing a body and developing this aspect of your soul is just your way of going, this is the expression of God that I want to be. Maybe I want to be curiosity. Maybe I want to be mystery. Maybe I want to be total loving compassion. Maybe I want to be a rebel. Maybe I want to mess things up. Maybe I want to ruffle some feathers and start a revolution. God is all things, the up, the down, the left, the right, the good and the bad, the light, the dark, the evil, the peaceful. God is all things. And so it must separate itself and have some relativity, which it gets the most in 3D physical form. While we're here, there's this and then that. There's a me and a you. While you're a soul, it's much more of a merged experience. And so having this experience of relativity here gives us contrast, which gives us the experience of ourselves in a much stronger. As you grow and evolve as a soul, you might have a certain proclivity to certain soul aspects, certain soul abilities. These could be any of the clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, all of the above for all of the senses. Some people have gifts that are miraculous healing for self, healing for others, distance healing. Some people can do animal communication, weather manipulation. There are many reported shamans that have been able to shapeshift, connection to beings in higher realms, ascended masters. There's telekinesis, bilocation, being in two places at once. There are many documented accounts of that, especially in the Vedas and in India. There's channeling, mind reading, levitation, instant manifestation, also very well documented in India. There are gurus that can manifest jewels and gems. A lot of that is in the Yogananda book. Some people just have a connection to divine wisdom or divine compassion or some of these states of consciousness like bliss. People can travel out of their body, do remote viewing. There's really no limit. These are just some of the things that you as a soul might be more or less drawn to. When you come here, you want to experience these things here. As you process more of your personal pain, more of these get to come online. I want to remind you that these are things your soul already knows how to do. These are not abilities you have to try so hard to cultivate. They are more of a remembrance. Every craft requires some level of practice and discipline within the remembrance, but these are not brand new things. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from, oh, I forgot that I knew how to do this. I had a client that said in one of her sessions, she remembered that she was really into astrology and remembered that the spirit of the planets were her main guides over multiple lifetimes. She did not have to learn astrology from scratch because she already had a deep connection to all of the planets on a soul level from working with them over many lifetimes. So when she then went to learn astrology here on a physical form, it started to just come to her like wildfire because it was more of a remembrance. Did she still need to take classes and workshops and read books and cultivate her craft? Yes, absolutely. But it came a lot more naturally to her because it was natural to her. So my main point from this is do not focus on the spiritual gifts or shiny things as the end goal. The spiritual abilities are a byproduct of releasing more of the layers of pain. When you get here, a lot of things happen. Your memory is wiped. You don't have a ton of conscious awareness of your blueprint or your other lives or the gifts you have in your soul or what you're here to do, but it does live within you. God hid it in the last place you would look, but in a place you could never lose it or have it taken from you. You can forget, you can move into confusion, you can dissociate, you can go into ignorance, you can negate your blueprint and your path. You always retain free will, but you can never really lose the essence of your soul or the blueprint you came in with. Again, you can scrap it and not do much of it, but if there's ever a time you want to come back, it's going to be there. For those of you thinking about the blueprint, we retain full free will, but you come in with a general sketch. Think of like an architect outline. You come in with an outline of things you want to do. I want to learn compassion. I want to learn forgiveness. I want to learn what true abundance is. I want to liberate my family. I want to feel what it's like to stand on my 2 feet. I want to be extremely visible and fearless in this lifetime because I didn't really have that chance before. A soul blueprint takes the expansiveness of your soul and cherry picks some things and go, let's do this lifetime. For people that put too much on their blueprint, those people tend to be very overwhelmed in this lifetime. They kind of get here and go, and I've had people say that in their sessions. They go, I might have put too much on my plate. I got really excited when I was in the buffet room and as a soul and go, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take parents with substance abuse, a crazy sibling. I will put myself in a low income area with brown skin in a white neighborhood where I'm the only one. I'm going to give myself the full Monty because those experiences give us even more opportunity for growth as a soul. But if we put a little bit too much on our plate, it can be overwhelming. The other thing is Earth happens to be a particularly intense and challenging planet. And it's helpful to remember that there are many 3D Earth-like planets. Earth is one of many. We tend to incarnate into the same planet many times because you already know the flavor, so to speak. There's a familiarity with a planet when you incarnate on it many times. So we're typically not bouncing around all over the place. We tend to stick to similar ones. But this one in particular is extremely challenging because of the level of contrast that this planet experiences. The highs are so high, the lows are so low, the rich are so rich, the poor are so poor. There is such a vast range of relativity that provides a landscape for a lot of opportunities for challenge and intensity and chaos. This is particularly intense on a human level, but it provides a lot of opportunity and growth on a soul level. We're always kind of trying to find the balance. And as you're here on this difficult planet, you move through life, you accumulate pain, you bump into things, you go through trauma and difficult times, you accumulate false beliefs about yourself and the world. It's easy because you don't have the recollection of your blueprint and everything you worked on. It's very easy to get swept up in your 3D life, to get swept up in your job, your marriage, the news, technology, politics, everything going on around you. That's why coming back to your spiritual path is a very beautiful homecoming that all of us have to come to on our own. It can't really be forced. We have to be ready for that because it's the opposite of where we have kept our perspective and awareness in our lives to begin with. Beyond that, we're not really taught how to process pain. We're not really taught how to connect to our soul. And so all of these difficult layers tend to accumulate and our energetic field gets heavier and heavier. When we live from this place, this cements these false beliefs. It creates much more long-term moods. You've seen those old people that are just like, they are never going to change. They're on their porch, get off my lawn. When those things really sink in and that emotional pain and beliefs linger for longer, it absolutely can create physical dis-ease. And then comes the knock. So you're going through life, you had your blueprint, lots of crazy things are happening, you're accumulating pain, you're doing a little processing, and then comes a knock. Your soul is powerful, but the soul will not infringe on your free will. God is not going to step in and change your life around. Your angels are not going to pay your taxes or clear your credit card, but it might step in and teach you self-empowerment, self-belief. It might inspire you to start a new business or to organize your finances. It might bring someone into your life that's an inspiration. It might send you a podcast or a book to help you start to organize your path to bootstrap and get yourself back on 2 feet, but it's not going to make the changes for you. Spirit brings inspiration for you to start the awakening process. It's like a seed that was deep in the earth. It starts to wiggle and move and it's uncomfortable and it's got constrictions and it starts to use a lot of energy of this discomfort of all these pain and layers to start to move upwards to break soil. This could look like a dark night of the soul, a physical accident. It might be a plant medicine journey. Someone might die very close to you. You might have a near-death experience. You might have a spiritual paranormal experience. You might have a illness, an accident, a very powerful teacher enter your life, a book, a song. It could be a million things. Spirit has no bounds to reach you. Spirit's got your name, number, and address, and it's going to find an intimate, personal way to get your attention. And the more that you ignore these tap, tap, taps, the more intense they become, and the taps eventually become a bulldozer. So that's why I'm always telling people, listen, take action sooner than later. And then comes the healing. You listen to the taps, you start to take it more seriously. You start to actually look into healing. You might start really reading the books and applying the practices instead of just reading it on an intellectual level. You might hear concepts in a different way that resonate truer for you when you listen from your heart and not just the mind. You might start going to therapy. You might start making some progress. You might start to feel better overall, and some of your lightness and gifts might come online. You might notice yourself becoming more intuitive, more synchronicities. You're seeing the spirit and divine hand in more aspects of your life rather than just a fleeting moment or two. Things start to feel better, and soon after, they also become harder because now you have all of these new questions and challenges that you never knew before. That's why some people say ignorance is bliss, because the more wisdom, light, and awareness you have, that comes with a certain level of responsibility. You can't just go back into the dark. Once you start waking up, you can't just bury your head in the sand. You might have a moment of waking up, and I have seen people have that, and then they go into a depression or maybe substance abuse for a while because it was too much too soon, too quickly, and they didn't have the stability and resources to support the awakening. And that's what I think a lot of people in mental institutions are experiencing. I think they had a rocket ship of some awareness and did not have the nervous system stability to handle it. And so a lot of the things they experience are true and valid, but how it's being communicated is not grounded. And so they don't feel heard or trusted or believed. Your life gets lighter, you make progress, and at the same time you have entirely new challenges. You start to feel different than everyone else. There's kind of this looking around like, is anyone else seeing this? You might go down conspiracies, you might go down rabbit holes. I did that for a while, really going into the true history of the earth, contact, secret societies, more politics, really the dark underbelly of the beast of the world that we live in. Awakening can be a very difficult, emotional, and mentally strenuous process because you are now knowing things you hadn't known before. There can be a heaviness that comes with that. In this process, you also have to start taking action in new ways. You have to let some things go. Boundaries are going to come up. You're going to have to speak up for yourself in a new way. Your morals, integrity, and values might change, and that might shift your entire reality. You might have to make serious decisions about where you're going to work, who you're going to be in relationship with, who gets to enter your life, the friendships you feel connected to, and shit gets real. However, if you stick with this long enough, the difficulties that you encounter start to become a lot more interesting because you know what it's like to be able to move through these. It's not your first rodeo. Once you have gone through a few layers in your shadow work journey, you start to gain more of a confidence knowing that you're going to make it to the other side. In the first couple, you don't always know that. So it feels like the sky is falling and your whole life is crumbling apart. In that moment, it kind of is. That layer of your perspective about yourself in the world is crumbling, and that is exactly what needs to happen in the process. The longer you stick with it, you kind of get better, so to speak. You have more practice and experience under your belt, and you also have the lightness from all the times you have done it previously that get to come and support you. Each time you move through difficulty, you up level and bring all the other up levels with you. It creates a momentum, and I would say a certain level of lightness in your perspective as you do it. So for me now, when I move through big challenges, I allow myself to feel all the emotions, intensity of the challenge, but I also can sense and feel this peace and knowingness as I experience it. So I could simultaneously feel sadness, grief, despair, while also feeling acceptance and resolve at the same time. And so you're kind of the experiencer and the witness at the same time. And over time, you become so rooted in yourself because as the layers shed, you become more you. Your truth emerges. You feel more like yourself. There's a natural ease about you, and old things don't bother you as much. Your internal life becomes the focus of your world instead of all of the external. You're no longer trying to get the job or the career to impress your parents or to get the star. You give yourself the love, safety, validation that you were previously looking for because you were living out of the layers of pain of your past. But when those layers dissolve, what is left is you. The you that is left is wonderful and amazing, and you get to experience that more in its fullness than ever before. That also lights a fire under you to continue the path because you feel the direct result. It might not always be immediate, quick, or in the way that you thought, but it does come to support you when you need it the most. That also becomes a really big light bulb moment when you have that experience. And in general, your gifts come online. All of those things that are natural for your soul and the things you wanted to come in and experience start to shine through more and more. Not because you're working at it, but because they are already organic to you. As the layers dissolve, it reveals more you. And the you that is revealed and contains all of these wonderful abilities, goodness, compassion, joy, peace, naturally. And it kind of continues to unfold. What it really boils down to is you become internally resourced instead of externally resourced. And that is one of the greatest markers of your spiritual progress. I don't need stimulants to give me energy. I don't need people to praise me to know my goodness or love. I don't need a compliment to feel good about myself. I don't need a particular job, diploma, certification, title to feel my worth. I don't need things to be reflected back to me in order to know and experience something about me. That is one of the greatest markers to measure how far down this path you are going. How much am I looking to outsource? How much am I resourcing externally versus how much am I intrinsically leaning into, even though that's going to be the harder, longer path because it's going to require you to find it from within instead of getting a quick hit from something else. Your reality begins to shift. So I'm going to show you this map again, this energetic field that you return to. You come back to your light. Your light is information. Information carries wisdom, gifts, and essences. And that is your natural state. It's not a trying, it's not a forcing. It's going to take some effort to dissolve these layers of your past and pain, to dissolve and question, deeply question your beliefs about yourself in the world. That takes effort, but it's not forced, and neither is what emerges in the process. And if you go even beyond that, typically what happens next is some layer of service. One of the fastest ways to explode your light and your spiritual trajectory path is to be of service. That also becomes organic and natural. It just flows. It just becomes very obvious at a certain point. This does not necessarily mean it needs to be a business or tied to your income in any way. That is one of the biggest mistakes I see. Your light, your essence is needed wherever it's needed. God is going to find a place to put it. You don't really have to try that hard to find it as much as dissolve the layers between you and it. When that happens, it will become very organic. It doesn't mean you have to start a website and a business and a social media handle and start making videos and content. It just means bring the you that has emerged into everything you do, into all of your conversations, into how you walk through the world, into your family, your lineage, into the work that you do, into your life. Your light is needed wherever you go. Trust and believe that. And spirit will find a place for your light to go where it can be utilized. And that doesn't always mean it's going to be received well, but it will have an effect, and you don't know what seeds your light is planting for people. All of us have a unique version of service. For example, I have a friend, one of the lightest, most powerful, magnetic, incredibly gifted friends. She works in corporate America in basically hospitals and pharma. And yet that is where her light is needed. It's needed in that system right now. And it's in alignment for her. She's got a salary. She's working up the corporate ladder. Things that would typically be hellish for us spiritual seekers that love freedom. But she is in such deep connection with her soul and path that she knows that's where she's needed to be right now. She knows that her light and gifts don't need to be something always for others to book or to be enjoyed. Also, sometimes our gifts and our light is for us to enjoy, for us to finally fill up the bathtub and lay and enjoy. It's not always about giving it all away once you have some for yourself. So I love watching her enjoy the goodness she has cultivated for herself and know that naturally exudes from her and it impacts all the people around her because it gives people an actual example of what it looks like to hold, enjoy, and relish in your own light and resources. And when you really lean into all of this, you become service to the good of all. Expands yourself, it reveals more to you. The more you lean into your service and light, the more it unlocks when it feels that you are ready and responsible enough to handle that. My greatest recommendation is to start with some version of shadow work. Find someone you resonate with, find a path, find something that starts to comb through beliefs, comb through pain, comb through heaviness. Definitely recommend working with someone that is trained in a modality that you resonate with, and keep trying stuff until it no longer resonates. Same with spiritual practice. Pick a spiritual practice. They all lead you to the same place. We're all going to the same place, people. It doesn't matter. Pick Hinduism, pick shamanism, pick breatharianism, pick Ramalama Ding Dong. It really doesn't matter as long as it vibes with you and it resonates with you and it brings you into deeper intimacy and presence with your heart and soul. This was quite a long workshop. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this style, please let me know if there's something you want me to speak on, do a presentation on in the future. I am all ears. I'm going to be on here more. Thank you for sticking with me. If you want to try one of my guided hypnosis journeys, I have a link down below to the archive of all of my previous live events. Pick a topic. It's all by donation. You can donate nothing. Hop into one of them, start the process, and message me if you have any questions.